Hi, I'm Eric Foxman of Balanced Personal Training, and today I want to share with you 7 tips for staying injury-free in your workouts. And it seems commonplace with athletes getting injured, getting surgeries, going through physical rehab, and then going through it all over again. And I want to share with you that it doesn't have to be that way. It's become too commonplace, and it's time to train smarter and not harder. So tip number 1 is to add variety into your workout. So when you're going to the gym, realize you can change the order and the sequence of your exercises. You could change your weight scheme, whether you train a little heavier one day or lighter the next. You could change your rep scheme. You can do a little bit more repetitions or fewer. You could change the time between your sets, how much rest you get between your set. If you want it to be a little more aerobic, maybe you shorten that time between one set and the next. So those are a few things that you can do with your own workout just by adding some variety, order, frequency, weights, rep scheme, things like that. The other thing that you should consider is, when you go to the gym, often it's free weights and machines. Well, there's also body weight exercises, working with stretch cords or other fitness equipment like exercise balls, BOSU, ab wheel, things like that that you can use. And those will all add variety, because when it comes down to it, it's about balance and it's about priorities. I was working out at this gym in Madison just the other day, and it seems like all the guys in the free weight area are doing the exact same exercises. They're all working their pecs and they're all working their biceps, and that's going to set themselves up for injury. They're eventually going to be having shoulder issues, back issues, and same thing with a lot of the women who I saw there. They're constantly doing squats and lunges because they want to work their hips, they want to work their legs. And then inevitably, they're complaining about their knees and their hips. So within the variety of your workouts, make sure there's a certain amount of priority and that we're not just working glam muscles, the ones that we see, but we're also working things like your rotator cuff muscles, your rhomboids, your core, things like that. So tip number 1 is variety. Second is leave your ego at the door when you go to the gym. Just check it, leave it in your car, because it's not going to do you any good. There's always someone who's going to be faster on the treadmill, someone who's going to be stronger, someone who's going to be fitter or leaner, all those types of things. And just remember what your goal is. And your goal is yours. Not to compare yourself to someone who might be 20 or 30 years younger than you, but what is it that you want to achieve? So the ego gets us in trouble. Just make sure you leave it at the door. Number 3 is don't train sleepy. Make sure that you have plenty of rest, plenty of sleep before you exercise. Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, Eric, I go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning because that's the only time I can do it before work. Or maybe you're doing it after work and you're training 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So yeah, those might not be optimal times. However, you can still get your 6 to 8 hours of sleep. You can still be rested. And then the third part of that is making sure that your stress management is under control. I find that stress, which, it's all up here, will manifest itself in your GI system, in your muscles. And even if you're rested, even if you've had a lot of sleep, if you're not able to, or you're not currently managing your stress, then when you go to the gym, your performance is not going to be very good. So those are the things when I talk about rest. It's sleep, stress management, okay? So make sure you got those, and you will really reduce your chances for injury. Number 4 is keeping your tank full. And what I mean is the fuel. Make sure that you are eating frequently, having your good carbohydrates, having your fiber, your lean proteins, good fats, things like that. Because if you try to exercise on a completely empty tank, what's going to happen? If you're running on empty, and then you're done for. And then sometimes you wind up trying to push yourself too hard on an empty tank. So I know I can do an entire seminar, and there have been books written about dieting and all that kind of good stuff. I'm not a proponent of any one diet. And this is an area where you can really experiment and play with and see, maybe if I eat 5 meals, small meals a day, that works really well for me. Or maybe you're a 4-meal-a-day person. So that's something you'll want to do. When you have a tank that's low on gas, you're setting yourself up to fail. So make sure you have fuel in there. Number 5 is warming up and cooling down every time you work out. Now, I think this area is very misunderstood. We have a tendency, you go into the gym, you get changed, and boom, you're working out. Or people say, well, I'm just going to do a quick warm up on the treadmill. So they're walking for 30 seconds, and before you know it, they're just running. And that's just not how warm-ups work. So warming up, there's 3 parts to warm-ups, okay? One is doing your dynamic stretches. And a dynamic stretch is a stretch where you are moving and preparing the muscle for some type of an activity. So for example, if I was to do arm swings forward and backward and do a series of those, that would be a dynamic stretch, especially if I'm going to go and play tennis, right? I wouldn't want to go and do a static stretch. So you do your dynamic stretches, and there's stretches you can do for shoulders and neck and ankles and hips and all that type of stuff. So dynamic stretches. Second would be doing some light cardio. And when I mean light cardio, I'm just talking walking or easy recumbent bike. The goal is to get your blood flowing, elevate your body temperature, because when you're physically warmer, your muscles can stretch and contract easier. If you are cold, the muscles don't perform as well. Okay? So dynamic stretches, light cardio, and the third part about that warming up is when you're actually doing your weights, to take at least a set or 2 of whatever exercise it might be. Let's say it's a dumbbell row, okay? It's this motion. And doing a first set, maybe at 30% of your heaviest. And then maybe doing 40 or 50%. It's not going to take energy out of you, but one is going to help with, connecting the mind and the muscles, okay? They call that the recruitment of muscle fibers, because if you just try jumping in there, it might be a shock to the system. So make sure that your first couple sets of almost every exercise, there's a warm-up, it's lighter, it's 30% or so of what your top is going to be. And then after your workout, do you just leave? No. You want to go and cool down. And cooling down is kind of the reverse. You want to maybe slow it down. So finish with some lighter exercises. You don't want to just hit your brakes and turn off the ignition and then you're done. And then you'll want to do some static stretches, okay? And a lot of times people go, oh, I don't want to stretch. That's boring. I'm not getting anything. I'm not burning calories doing static stretches, right? But you're going to help improve your performance, reduce your injury. You won't be so sore the next day. And so then doing your static stretches, okay? And a static stretch would be a stretch where you're holding, like pulling your arm across and you're holding that for about 30 seconds. So I know that's a mouthful when it comes to warming up and cooling down, but that's number 5, and that is key to staying injury-free. Number 6 is monitoring your performance. And when I talk about monitoring your performance, I don't just mean about tracking it all down and keeping your Excel spreadsheet and saying, okay, I did 225, 8 on bench, and I'm gonna, get 9 next time. Well, that's fine if the goal is strength gains. But I'm just talking about how do you feel. You really want to see how do you feel when you're eating a certain way and you're exercising a certain way. So in this regards, you kind of really have to be a scientist. You want to be very analytical and see with your workouts, the type of workouts that you're doing, and then how are you feeling? You might say, wow, I'm really sore. Are you sore in a muscular soreness way, or is it in the joints? That type of thing. So tracking, monitoring your performance, with it being how do you feel, not so much am I making progress, I'm getting faster, I am losing weight, I just dropped 5 pounds. That's great. But you know what? If you're injured, then it's going to be a lot harder to lose more weight, isn't it? Number 7 is having fun. People have asked me for years, give me the workout. Like I have this magic workout to give you. And as I've told people for almost 22 years now, The best exercise or best workout for you is things that you enjoy doing. If you enjoy doing it, then you're going to keep doing it. But within it, make sure that there's variety so you have fun doing it. Hire a personal trainer. Makes it fun. Do something in a group setting so you have some accountability. So those are my 7 tips for you for staying injury-free in your workouts. Let's recap. Adding variety. Check your ego at the door. Make sure you have rest, so don't train sleepy. Warm up and cool down every time you work out. Monitor your performance by saying, how do you feel? And number 7, having fun. Talk to you soon.